This is Tyrese Halliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
What's up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. I'm your host, Alex Golden. Joining me is Mr. 5:30 a.m. himself, Michael J. Facci. Facci, how's it going?
Woo, life is good, but I'm also thinking about some of the exercise that we're going to do today. Going through the shooting guards of who could be available, it has you fantasizing as just like, is help on the way? Who could it be? The mystery box. Like, Indiana needs to round out the edges on this team, so I'm excited for a fun episode today.
Is Michael Facci an option for the Pacers? Because we know he's a lights-out shooter at Carnival games.
Throw me at the Carnival. I'm telling you, I'm the last shooter you want to see. Rigged rim, double rim, it doesn't matter. I'm walking out with a prize. I've had the balls where I don't have any reference. I know where someone's gonna go in the comments. So I've had the basketball where it's like it's soft, or I've had the basketball that's way too pumped up. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Nothing but net.
So when you go to play the games, do you walk up to the person that's running the Carnival game and say, "I'm your worst nightmare today"?
Oh yeah, I look at like I go into Mamba mentality of just say you mess with the wrong guy, and I'm literally this is a true story. Last time I hit a shot, I went so wild, I started celebrating like that. I went, all right, I want that prize, and the guy was like, all right, but you still owe me money. And I was like, oh, I never paid you. Like, that's how in the moment I was of like celebrating and going wild. I was ready to walk off with the prize and just disappear. And I was like, all right, here's your money. Now, may I please get that stuffed animal for my daughter?
Yeah, celebrating her birthday still, I see.
It never ends. It never does.
Alrighty, Facci. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the shooting guards here. And once again, we are pulling our list from Spot Track. We are going to overlap a little bit with some small forwards and shooting guards because we just didn't really like the list of the small forward group. So we're going to pull some shooting guards onto the small forward list, maybe some of the small forwards onto the shooting guard list, because I don't really get how Spot Track was separating these players, but I do think that there are some players that fit more in the shooting guard role. So we'll get things started at number 5. What do you got?
Landry Shamet. Look, this guy has unrestricted free agent. I feel like he's been underappreciated for a while, but he's always been a knockdown three-point shooter. I feel like he was kind of like on the edge of even being in the league, like 2 seasons ago before the Knicks picked him up, and he will not require much. He's been a minimum contract guy last few seasons. Maybe $4 million or so, or maybe a multi-year deal, could bring him in. This is a guy who's quietly averaged over 9 points per game, shot about 40% from 3 for the Knicks, a team that right now is in the NBA Finals. So I think for Landry Shamet, the Pacers need 3-point shooting. He ain't a bad option.
Facci, I'm going to disagree with you here for a second. I have Landry Shamet on my list, but I have him higher.
All right.
I'll just go ahead and talk about him because we're here. I think he's going to get paid. What he's doing,
he deserves
what he's done in this NBA Finals and this playoff run, he is shooting the cover off the basketball.
He's been awesome.
He is making a name for himself, and he is going to get paid a good amount of money. I think there is going to be somebody that pays him in the double digits and the millions.
Wow.
That's where I'm at.
Took him a long time to get here. So,
I know, but you're looking at where he's actually played more minutes than some of the starters, like Josh Hart. He's played 31.5 minutes in the first 2 games. We're recording this on Sunday, so we don't have a clue what
Tibbs
took place on Monday.
Never. Tibbs would have never. He would have never put 30-plus minutes in the NBA Finals. Shamet's averaging 13 points per game, shooting 46% from 3 in the NBA Finals. And there's a scenario that maybe a year ago he wouldn't even be able to get off the bench.
He shot 91.7% the previous series, going 11 of 12 from 3.
Crazy.
58.3% against Philly at 7 out of 12. So, I didn't have a great series against the Hawks. He only shot 27.3% from 3, but still, he just continues to just be a lights-out shooter in the right spot at the right time. Honestly, I remember last year when he was with the Knicks, I was like, man, when he's on the floor, he's hitting everything. What did he shoot against the Pacers? He shot 53.8% from 3 against the Pacers. So This is somebody that I think Indiana should strongly look at because they've needed a lights-out three-point shooter that can put the ball in the basket, honestly, for quite a while. I don't even remember the last time I felt super confident in a guy off the bench that can do that. Maybe Buddy Hield, I guess, but he wasn't really part of the playoffs. Doug McDermott, they brought him in. He was not a good
Ooh,
three-point shooter in the playoffs.
that second stint was tough
It
to
was
watch.
forgettable. It was forgettable. And honestly, I think Landry Shamet is better than Jarris Walker and better than Ben Shepherd. He is an instant upgrade for me, and so that is why I have him on this list. I think I had him number 3 on my list.
Oh, okay.
I think this is somebody that is gonna get paid nicely.
Hey, good for him. If he doesn't, the door is open. All right. So number 4 on my list, I got Keon Ellis,
Okay.
unrestricted free agent, age 26. We heard Indiana was linked to him. There was interest. He could play either 2 or the 3. Spot Track had him listed at a 3. I disagreed.
Yeah.
Felt like he was more of a 2. So that's why I have him on my shooting guard list. Because he's only 6'4". So solid, 3 and D type player. He's going to bring the energy. He's going to defend very hard. I feel like Keon Ellis is a player that I could just envision on the Pacers and like appreciating what he brings to the table on a nightly basis.
I had him at number 5 on my list.
Okay.
And honestly, I think what you said too about the Pacers previously having interest in him, that does probably still ring true today.
Yeah.
I think that for if you're looking to upgrade at Ben Shepherd's spot, I think Keon Ellis is probably a upgrade over Ben Shepherd. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's much of an upgrade because I don't think he did enough in this last playoff run for the Cavaliers. But then again, I think the Pacers style of play versus Cleveland's style of play would maybe benefit him more. So he's a good defender. I mean, got a 6'9" wingspan, Foch. Like, this
Crazy.
is somebody that can really defend out there. And his 3-point shooting was way better in Sacramento than it was in Cleveland. So I wonder kind of like, was he a little bit overtaxed having a bigger role with the Cavs? Is he more of like a fringe 9/10 man? Probably so. But because there was interest before, because he's young at 26 years old, I do think that there's a lot of intrigue there for Keon Ellis. So I had him number 5 on my list. You had him number 4. I think we're kind of in locks up there thinking this is somebody that probably could target on the 2 spot.
I think so. So next on my list, I love a good guy with a soft spot, or someone that I've had a soft spot for. That's Gary Trent Jr. All right. So I'm saying some my words are getting mixed up to this. Like, I love a good
what
guy.
you said at the beginning of the show, what you're
that
saying
ain't
now,
what I meant.
soft.
This is someone that I've had a
Basketball.
soft spot for, is what I was trying to say. And that's Gary Trent Jr. He has a player option at $3.9 million. What does it take for this man to just get a little bit of cheddar or just anything of the sort? But I think that, he didn't have the best year last year, but I think that Milwaukee's a sinking ship. This guy, I think, can easily decline that player's option, go somewhere where maybe he can get a multi-year contract. He's been bouncing around on minimum contracts and 1-year deals for a while. This is someone that had numerous seasons averaging 13 to 18 points per game. He's a career 39% shooter, and he can't get a minimum or above a minimum contract anywhere. So I just feel like we want to talk about like what we've went through. This is a guy who averaged 19 points per game on 50% shooting and 50% from 3 against the Pacers. He went off. So I feel like there's a scenario where, what if the Pacers were able to offer him $5 million a year, or maybe a 2-year contract at, say, $4 to $5 million, something that gives him a multi-year deal? I feel like Gary Trent Jr. would bring 3-point shooting and be, a solid scorer off the bench for the Pacers.
Yeah, I have Gary Trent Jr. number 2 on my list.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah, I just think because of the cost, right? Like you mentioned it, minimum guy, 27 years old, won't turn 28 till January. So it's like he's still pretty much in the prime of his career.
Yeah.
It feels like he's a lot older than that for whatever reason.
It does, though.
You know why? It's because he's been on a lot of minimum contracts and he's kind of been a journeyman.
So, yeah.
If he hadn't changed teams so much, you probably think like, oh yeah, I guess he didn't change that much. Portland, Toronto, and Milwaukee, but it just feels like a lot.
Those Portland and Toronto days, they feel like they were like, man, I don't want to say a lifetime ago, but like they really do feel like it was like, oh, I would have thought that this guy's like 30, 31, something like.
Yeah, and honestly, like came into the league kind of young, but he's been a vet for 7 years now, going into year 8. And you play with Pascal Siakam. I think that does maybe play a little bit of a factor in recruiting. If Siakam's like, hey, look, we had a really competitive series against you in a 5-game series. You played great against us. We think that our style of play fits you really well. You already know that I'm, a good guy that you've had a good time with in the locker room. Like, we meshed. let's just keep this going. Let's run it back again. And honestly, I think he is an upgrade for sure over a Ben Shepherd. I mean, look what he did against the Pacers, 50% from the three, 22 of 44 during that series. I mean, this is a guy that can really put the ball in the basket. And I think defensively, yeah, he's got a little bit to be desired, but I think he's more of an average defender than he is like an eyesore where you're like, this guy can't play. So I'm a big fan. I like him. I think that he's a very good player. And at the end of the day, when you're looking at a guy that's constantly on minimum contracts, it's hard to pass those guys up as potential players to add onto your team.
Yeah, I think like last year is not the year that's really going to help him now finally get more than a minimum. But like, I don't know. I mean, I just think that maybe if he's in a spot where it's like a multi-year deal, that might be a little bit more appealing to say, all right, at least I know that I could potentially be in the same spot for 2 seasons or anything along those lines. So Gary Trent Jr., I think to the Pacers would be an awesome addition.
Yeah. All right. Who do you have at number 2 or 3?
I brought him up before. I'm gonna bring him up again. Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't think people actually realize this, but Tim Hardaway Jr. is 19th all time in threes made, and like
wild.
I know, like, and I know people are like 19 is kind of random, but like 2 seasons from now he's gonna be top 10 all time in 3-pointers made. Tim Hardaway Jr. And I looked at like the league, and where the league's at right now is 7 of the top 10 players in 3-pointers made are active players right now. And it was like 12 of the top like 19 or so are active players. So like clearly the league's in a different position than it was years ago, like a Reggie Miller and a Ray Allen and Kyle Korver and like what they were doing back then. But Tim Hardaway Jr. is someone who's averaged about 15 points per game and 38% from 3 over the last 10 seasons. He made just $3.6 million last year with Denver. So, but if there's a scenario that like $5 million, $5 to $6 million, you know, gets him to Indiana, and now he's a good 3-point shooter off the bench, someone that could probably average, I don't know, 12 to 14 points per game, maybe, for the Pacers. I think that would be a good addition, especially when this team could use some 3-point shooting. I know there's been people in the comments that are like, that wouldn't happen because Tyrese and Tim Hardaway Sr. I'm like, guys, come on. I don't think it's like that. This is a business. And it's not like it's not like he's beefed with Tim Hardaway Jr. It's his dad. Like,
Who
I think
cares if he did?
you got to separate that type of thing. I think that is like you got to throw that out the window when it comes to like building a team.
Yeah, so here's what I'll say. Like, that kind of stuff is just nonsense to me personally, because when I look at Tim Hardaway Jr., like, this is a guy that played for Rick Carlisle with the Dallas Mavericks and had a really good a good couple of years under Rick Carlisle, some of his better shooting years as well. And from what I know, they had a pretty good relationship when they were playing together. So that to me speaks volumes to how that whole marriage could work if the Pacers are like, hey, this is a guy that kind of fits what we want, really good shooter off the bench. Was he like third in voting for 6 Man of the Year this year? Did he win it?
Yeah. No, he didn't win it, but he was.
Who won it?
I'm trying to
Was
think.
it Hawkes Jr.?
No. Let me see.
I forgot who won. For some reason, I thought he won it this year, but he finished third.
Oh no, my boy Keldon Johnson.
That's right, your boy. That's right, Keldon Johnson.
Keldon Johnson. Look at him.
I was like, man, why am I blanking on
big
this?
things? Yeah,
he was a finalist, right? He was a finalist.
He was a great fit for Denver, honestly.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I thought he was a really good fit for Detroit 2 years ago. That's the thing. When you have a 3-point shooter like this, I mean, he is a human flame torch. Like, this guy can put the ball in the basket. I love watching him shoot. I'd hate watching him shoot against my team because I feel like he hits everything. But good player. And honestly, like, this is why I had him number 1. I just think cheap, can go out there and light it up, would fit in with this team pretty well, is trying to win a championship. There's probably an easier path in the Eastern Conference than there is the Western Conference. I don't know where he would go if he, was staying in the West. Would he go back to Denver? I mean, do we really think Denver is going to do anything significant in the postseason? I don't really see it right now with where the Spurs and the Thunder are at, and maybe any other team coming up around that time, Minnesota, if they make some significant moves. I don't know. But I think that there is a path where it could make sense. And once again, anybody that's worried about that nonsense that happened between Hardaway Sr. and him talking about Halliburton, things like that. Look, Halliburton talks. Halliburton's a chirper. People don't like him until they play with him. And then if Tim Hardaway sees Halliburton setting his son up for even more points, he's gonna change that tune real quick.
I think so. So, all right, next on my list, and number one on my list, is where I got CJ McCollum. I just think that I don't really anticipate this working out. I just think it would be like the perfect scenario.
I love your number ones. The last 2 episodes have been like, we're not going to get them. We can't afford them, but they're number one on my list.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, look, I can't have CJ McCollum like later in my list, but he just made $32 million. So now we're asking to say, can you take the mid level? It's like, oh man, that's literally less than half of that. So I'm sure Atlanta will want to re-sign him. I also think that he will have suitors. He's like in a free agent class that's not great. He's definitely like one of the top tier unrestricted free agents. But Indiana could probably do what they can to make it as appealing as possible. And I feel like if he was to come to Indiana, this is like you're immediately talking about 6 man of the year candidate. Like I really think that like if this is a guy that has not won. He made one Western Conference Finals appearance with Portland a ton of years ago. Like this is like winning should be a top priority for CJ right now, and he's made his fair share of money. So if there's a scenario where he's willing to take the mid-level exception, and he will have plenty of mid-level exception offers, I would imagine Indiana would be a strong fit for him, but still an uphill battle for the Pacers.
Yeah, honestly, like I would love CJ McCollum. I had somebody ask me today, could you get Chris Middleton and CJ McCollum? I said, not both.
Yeah, no.
You can get one.
Yeah.
They're like, who would you rather have? I said, that's pretty obvious, CJ McCollum. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So I love CJ McCollum. I think that he would fit perfectly with this group. Honestly, like we talked about point guards last episode, you wouldn't even need to bring in a third string point guard if you had CJ McCollum because he can be your third string point guard.
Yes, he can.
He's that combo guy that can light it up. We saw him do it in the playoffs this year. Sure, there are limitations to his game. He was even coming off the bench, but still averaging around 30 minutes a game this season off the bench. So this is a guy that is a bona fide scorer, and the Pacers would be dumb not to give him a serious look. I mean, here's the thing, Facci. I think you set it up perfectly because I don't really know what McCollum wants in this next free agency period. Sure, most guys say, I want the money, but also there's a lot of guys that want to win championships. And so it's like, I've made all this money throughout my career. Do I want to go out there and sign as big of a contract as I can? Or do I want to sign a deal where maybe I sign a 3-year deal for $45 million, something like that, with a team that has a chance to win a championship? Or with the Pacers specifically, does he sign a 2-year deal to kind of fit in with this 2-year window with this group? And knowing that Halliburton might be a little bit limited when he first comes back and whatnot, is there going to be more of an opportunity to get more minutes here? Knowing Halliburton is going to slowly work his way back into it, not going to overtax him with minutes. And then honestly, like there could be scenarios where he finishes games over in Nembhard or over in Nesmith if he's playing well,
Totally could
at least offensively, or if they wanted to go super small because they're trying to go small just to like make it more difficult. Imagine him out there with Halliburton and Nembhard and Nesmith. Like that's some great floor spacing. Like just basically swap him in for the Benedict Mathurin role, and that's pretty enticing to me. So I love the fit. I had him number 4 on my list because of the price. I just don't really know what it would take to get him.
I'm not necessarily sure, but I do know that playing in New Orleans and Washington could very much make you appreciate a winning team. And he played in both of those spots, and that must have drained him to be like only getting older and losing a lot of games and not playing in meaningful games. And like, yeah, he definitely came alive, with the Hawks, and they went on that good run. But I mean, the Hawks are the Hawks. Like, you look at them on paper and you say, okay, like, yeah, it's probably the team that could make the playoffs again. But if you add CJ McCollum to the Pacers, it looks like they have an opportunity to win the East again. So, or more. So, I'd be curious to see what would happen. That would be, in my opinion, like maybe probably the best overall signing that Indiana could have in the offseason. And fingers crossed. That's all I can
Yeah,
say.
are you saying regardless of position? Or are you just
Yeah,
saying
potentially regardless of position, just because we already went through, like, the point guards the other day and wasn't great, and then you look at, like, shooting guards, he's definitely head and shoulders above every other shooting guard there, and there are other good players out there, but I do think that, like, you're not looking to sign, like, your starting 4 or your starting center, but, like, a 6th man, like, you need that, and I don't think there'd be a better 6th man out there than CJ McCollum.
Yeah, I don't either, and I think because of what we saw him do in the playoffs, there's gonna be a lot of suitors for him,
There
and
will.
that's what's gonna make this hard for Indiana, but I do think that we're trying to win now on the you know, on the label in terms of, like, "Come sign with us," like, that's what their campaign pitch is, so that's interesting to me. Now, I guess, real quick before we sign off here, was there anybody else on this list that you considered that debated putting on the list that was, like, an honorable mention?
At the 2, no, no, I would just keep it that way. There was someone that I moved from the 2 to the 3, so I did have
Okay.
one of those.
Well, this just a couple of names, I guess, real quick to throw out here, because I know a lot of people are gonna ask, like, "What about Anthony Simons?" I think he's gonna make too much money.
Yeah.
I don't see that with him. Norman Powell is somebody I would be interested in, but I think, once
Yeah.
again, too much money, and depending on what the Heat do with Giannis, I think that they could try to bring him back and have his bird rights and be able to sign him. What about a guy like Kevin Huerter with Detroit?
A couple years ago, I definitely was interested. I feel like he's kinda fallen off a bit, but I still think there's an opportunity that, yeah, if the Pacers, like, had some interest, like, you could do a lot worse than him, but, like, I feel like I'm not trying to show my age here, but, like, he used to be a good three-point shooter.
Mm,
What happened? Like, what happened to Kevin Huerter the last few years where, like, I'm looking at, like, last season in total, he shot under 31%
mm.
from 3.
Style
That's
of play
crazy.
matters. Style of
Yeah,
play
yeah, I
matters.
guess so. The year before that, he shot under 34% from 3, and then there was, like, half a season in Sacramento where he shot 30%, where, like, you look at the beginning of his career, 38.5, 38%, 36.3, 39%, 40%. Like, he was a really good three-point shooter his first, like, entire stint with the Atlanta Hawks and so on, and then I just feel like, I don't know, something happened in his game, and that was kinda what was the deal breaker for me was like, is he really even a good three-point shooter anymore?
Well, what's really interesting is, like, that back half of the season, 2024-25 when he got traded to Chicago, he ends up shooting 37.6% from 3. And what did they do? They're like, "We're playing like the Pacers. We're gonna play fast. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that." He got over 7.2, or he got 7.2 three-point attempts up per game in that stretch, and that's when he was playing better because he was getting higher volume and he was playing faster. So I think personally, if the Pacers were to go after him and get him on a cheaper deal, playing fast would help him, I think, a little bit, but it's still somebody we both didn't put on our list. I think Quentin Grimes is another name that people would be intrigued by.
Just,
I
like, wants too much money. Like, last year,
Too
it
much
was like,
money,
yeah,
is not a three-point shooter. Then, of course, Benedict Mathurin is restricted.
yes,
I've seen a lot of fans be like, "What if we brought him back? Wouldn't that be something?" I'm like, "He's not coming back." Like,
that happened.
I'm not gonna get my hopes up. The only other name that I slightly considered for this, and he missed, I think, almost all of last season, Bradley Beal.
Yeah, yeah, Bradley Beal, I mean, I don't know, is it a player option, I guess,
Player
that he
option
has? Yeah.
for 5,
Not
6.
much, not much because he got bought out by so much that it's a small player option. Bradley Beal, I think, is kinda one of those, like, out of sight, out of mind where, like, yeah, he really did miss most of that season, and his time in Phoenix, I feel like, was, like, kind of best remembered for refusing to take a pay cut or refusing to waive his no trade clause. That's what it was, where it was like, what is Bradley Beal even doing with a no trade clause? So, yeah, no, I think at this point, like, if you're telling me that Bradley Beal is willing to come to Indiana for half as much as CJ McCollum or, like, honestly, almost like a third, then you really gotta strongly consider that because this is a guy that was a multi-time All-Star in this league, was a very good player for a while, but it never is if he's your number 1, you're not gonna be a good team. In this situation, it's a totally different style of fit. Even in Phoenix, he was asked to, like, be part of, like, a big 3. That would not be the case in Indiana, so I would have
Yeah.
some interest.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is, like, probably like the 6th person I'd put on my list if I had to make this list,
exactly.
with another option. I just was like, I just don't know if I want to put him on there. I don't trust the health.
Yeah,
That's my biggest concern with him.
I know. Just I don't know. Not
So,
overly excited about it, but if Indiana made that type of signing, and you're telling me that he's signing for $4 to $5 million, like yes, I do like that signing.
yeah, okay, last one, I lied. Last one real quick was, Bruce Brown. Minimum
I
contract with Denver. I thought about it just because we never really got I mean, I thought he actually started to play well for the Pacers. I think he'd be
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much better not being a starter, right, coming off the bench. I just don't know what he thinks about Indiana and how they kinda handled all that, where they gave him this big money, then traded him for Siakam. He kinda had to know what was gonna happen, right?
I think so. I don't think we've ever shared this. I mean, I don't know, maybe you forgot, but, like, I remember telling you that, like, I got a commitment that Bruce Brown was gonna come on our show. I remember we were gonna interview him, and then he got traded, like, right like that, and I remember being like, "Ah, yeah, he ain't coming on anymore." Like, there's no way
We're
he's
bringing him
coming
back,
on.
Foch. We're gonna get him on the podcast.
Yeah, like, I totally remember just, like, it was, like, an understanding, like, yeah, so I assume that interview's off, and then it was off. But I don't know, I just get that feeling that, like, we haven't really heard him talk about Indiana, but I almost just feel like it was like we were the team that presented the highest offer that other teams couldn't match. So, like, he needed to cash in, but like his time here was so short, and like not necessarily sure like how he truly felt. But I think like maybe he thought like coming off of that championship, like, hey, I'm gonna like really step into like a bigger type of role. This, and I just feel like he never really got that type of opportunity. Once he signed that contract, like he just was obviously traded to Toronto, and then, he back to Denver, and just, like, I don't know. I don't know if maybe there's, like, a little bit of bitterness or anything of that sort.
I recently saw where he said he was like I know he was gonna sign with the Lakers before
Yes, I
the
remember that.
Pacers offered
Mhm.
that contract. So I was like trying to figure out what was going on there. So I just love when the Pacers sweep in and take a Laker player. That's always
Yes.
exciting. So anybody the Lakers want, let's go and get the Pacers on it and take them because they always want the Pacers players for
A
nothing.
and then when the Lakers did it to us, it was Alex Len that they swooped in and stole. They could have him. They could have him because, man, that did not work out, and that's
That
what we're
was the
being.
weirdest
It
signing.
was
Like the Pacers,
crazy.
and they got Tony Bradley instead, and look how much better that worked out for
Yep,
him.
yep, and, like, I think it was, like, Shams or someone who, like, had reported that, like,
Yeah, it
Alex
was.
Len is anticipated to sign with the Pacers, like, so I was like, "Alright," you start to sell yourself on it, and then when it fell through, it was like made me feel like Woj wouldn't have reported this, that's how I was feeling.
If it makes you like feel any better, like here's what was going on in my world during that time. I was at a Raising Cane's in the parking lot eating lunch with my wife, and during this we were watching Lost on Netflix when the news broke.
Good show.
And I was
First
like
few seasons.
wow, what in the world? We got Alex Lynn. So then I'm like trying to hurry up and like find all this information to tweet out. And then like, what was it? Like a day later, not even
Yeah,
a day later. The deals fell through. He's going to the Lakers for a bigger opportunity. Pacers are going to get Tony Bradley. And wow, Alex Lynn could have been
great.
in the NBA finals, but instead
Hey,
decided to go to the Lakers. Oh,
all
better
worked out.
opportunity. Yeah, right. He would have played more than he realized. But anyway, Flash, that's going to wrap it up for our shooting guard episode here today. Pacer Nation, thank you all so much for tuning in, for being a part of this. Leave us a comment in the YouTube section. Leave us a 5-star review on the Apple or Spotify podcast audio side of things. And Flash, if you're open, the Pacers can do what they can to try to get a CJ McCollum type of player on the roster. Give me those 2 words.
Let's go Pacers.